Games like Splatoon don't come around too often. It's fresh and exciting in ways that are rarely seen. Marching to the beat of its own drum, Splatoon is bursting with style. So much so that in a different era, it would have made an excellent addition to the Dreamcast library. Yet despite everything it does right, the game also feels sparse, lacking in several basic areas. Splatoon is all about ink. Your character, a boy or girl of your choosing, is made of it. All of the available weapons spew, squirt, or blast it, and the objective is usually to spread as much of it around as possible. The ink is what separates Splatoon from other online shooters. While many games in the genre emphasize kill count, Splatoon focuses on controlling space. The best example of this is Turf War, the game's main online mode and the only one available at launch. In Turf War, 2 teams of 4 compete against one another by covering the map in their color of ink. The team that covers the highest percentage of the map wins. While you can kill opposing players, kills don't earn points, which act like experience that increases player level, unlocking new purchasable weapons and gear. As a result, killing the enemy is only advantageous if it allows your team to push ahead. With territory as the main priority, map awareness and coordination is key. Although it may be tempting to immediately start spraying away, it's best to look at the map, handily available on the Wii U gamepad, and see which sections your team has yet to control. You can even launch to teammates when you respawn by tapping their icon on the gamepad, letting you get to a desired location in seconds. Ranked battles are where the real action is. Depending on whether you win or lose, you'll rise and fall in ranks, which is pretty standard, but what makes ranked more enjoyable is that it has the better mode. Called Splat Zones, it's essentially King of the Hill, where your team tries to hold a zone until you've run out of tickets. Because both teams are fighting over such a small space, kills are more valuable than they are in Turf Wars. There's constant interaction between the teams, and everything feels like it happens a lot more quickly. The typically longer matches are appreciated as well, since Turf Wars can sometimes end just as you're getting into the swing of things. Rounding things out is a 1v1 local battle mode where one player plays on the gamepad screen and another on the television. The objective is to pop more balloons than your opponent, and you lose points upon death. It's a fine mode, and it's great that the game supports local multiplayer in some capacity, but compared to nearly every other aspect of the game, it's too simple to hold your attention for long. The way Splatoon feels is undoubtedly its biggest achievement. There's a fluidity to it that's both elegant and frantic. At any given moment, your character can transform into a small squid by holding down the left shoulder button. More importantly, you can dive into and quickly glide through your own ink. It's useful for both closing the gap and making a hasty retreat. You can even swim up walls, allowing you to reach valuable vantage points. By remaining still or moving slowly as a squid in ink, you're completely invisible to the enemy. Since you can only take a few hits, learning how to properly Metal Gear squid through enemy territory is vital. Between fending off the enemy, spreading ink, and sneaking around, there's a lot to do at any one time. It's a unique dynamic that makes Splatoon so fascinating. Learning how to play as efficiently as possible takes practice. Yet because the game controls so well and is so chaotic and fun, the drive to keep playing comes easily. Of course, it wouldn't be a shooter without a sizable arsenal, and Splatoon doesn't disappoint. Players start with a basic gun with decent range and firing speed, but more interesting options are unlocked shortly thereafter. One of the most useful weapons is the paint roller, which can cover a lot of ground in a short amount of time and can even fling paint in a shotgun-like burst. In addition to the main weapons, there are also special and sub-weapons, including paint grenades, sticky bombs, and a paint launcher. Regardless of which weapons you choose, several factors are important to consider. Because each gun fires bursts of ink that drop in descending arcs very quickly, you often have to aim higher than initially expected. It's yet another quality that makes Splatoon stand out and takes a fair amount of time to get used to. Additionally, some weapons are better suited to certain modes. Since the sniper rifle fires in long, thin lines at a slow rate, it's not great in Turf War, where covering space quickly is the priority. The weapon is far better suited to Splat Zones, where you only have to worry about controlling a relatively small area. Unlike many of its contemporaries, Splatoon doesn't let players customize loadouts. When you equip your main weapon, it comes with a specific sub-weapon and special weapon. While this may initially seem limiting, it ends up being beneficial. Instead of simply optimizing and rolling into battle with the best possible layout, it always feels like you're sacrificing something to gain something else. Learning how to play around these deficiencies adds an appreciated layer of strategy. Yet the game can be inflexible in incredibly annoying ways as well. One of the worst things is that you can't switch weapons in a multiplayer lobby, meaning you're out of luck if you want to change things up between matches. Instead, you have to completely exit the lobby, change weapons, and then enter matchmaking again. It's a needlessly frustrating process that wastes far too much time. Complementing the online battles is a short but well-crafted story mode. An evil force is taking control of the Zapfish, electric critters that power all of Inkopolis. Captain Cuttlefish, a curious old man that seems to know a lot about what's going on, tasks you with reclaiming them. Things don't get much more complicated from there, but they don't really need to. Much like Mario 3D World or 3D Land, the levels start out very simple, too simple in fact, but they slowly ramp up in difficulty and complexity. By the end, you'll be soaring through the skies, zipping along special wires, and duking it out with equally armed foes. The levels never overstay their welcome, most are between 5 and 10 minutes, making the pace addictively brisk. Easily the highlights of the story mode are the boss battles. Each boss is like one giant puzzle. For most of them, you have to figure out their weak point and then exploit it, all while dodging a flurry of attacks. Splatoon is just as much of a success aesthetically as it is mechanically. The innumerable small touches give the game a heart that so many shooters lack. The maps rotate every 4 hours, and instead of just announcing this via a simple notification, a news broadcast hosted by 2 squid anchors updates you. Callie and Marie are a little snarky, a little awkward, and completely endearing. They turn something mundane into something special, and the same can be said for so many other aspects. The shopkeepers, for example, exude plenty of charm. A shrimp shoe salesman has every single one of his feet covered with footwear. The woman selling hats is fidgety and timid, but the fish atop her head has no problem calling you a nerd. All of these characters make the game feel like it exists in an actual place, instead of just being a bunch of strung-together lobbies. Splatoon's soundtrack also deserves special mention. Its crunchy riffs and collection of weird noises fused together in a way that appropriately accentuates the intensity of each match. Yet despite all of the well-executed ideas, Splatoon feels noticeably sparse. With only 2 online modes, one of which doesn't unlock until enough people reach level 10, and 5 maps, the game's appeal wears thin despite the overall quality. Nintendo promises new modes and maps in the future, but right now it comes up short. It simply gets tiresome playing the same maps in the same ways ad nauseum. The lack of basic features like voice chat or a party system also hurts the overall experience. While some may debate that these things aren't essential, Splatoon is at its best when a team is effectively coordinating for victory, so it's bizarre to omit such tools. The amiibo support is also lackluster, or at least what we've seen of it. Gametrailers was sent one amiibo figure, the Inkling boy, and it unlocked some gear and stage challenges. It's nice that the challenges reward you with coins used to purchase gear, but disappointing that they're just the exact same story missions, only this time you're given a paint roller instead of a gun. The new weapon hardly changes the feel of the stages, making it largely recycled content. Splatoon is a great game that may be outstanding in a few months' time. If Nintendo delivers in a big way with the planned free updates, it could absolutely be a must-have for the system. As it stands, Splatoon is a mechanically solid shooter set in a delightful world, but just doesn't have enough to it to truly make it exceptional.